that time when they said all the doctors agree, and you look at them, but you censored, you banned, you deplatformed, you blacklisted all the researchers, the doctors, the scientists who disagreed. You kind of took their platform away, like, oh well, their opinions weren't valid. But you're a social media company, or you're a government, or heaven forbid, you're a $1 billion pharmaceutical industry with an interest in making money. It's like, what makes their opinions not valid? Well, they disagreed with the machine. Yeah, and now it's over. It's like, oh well, those videos can come back up now. It's like, oh, it's kind of too late. Is there going to be any liability? That's kind of the worst thing. Part of that whole event is during the event, people go, we're going to make them pay when it's over. And you look around, it's like, yeah, that didn't happen. And like, we have our guy in office, and there's no redress of grievance in that direction. Anyway, hashtag pure blood. So great reviews when you can remove the bad ones. Like, what a way to control the narrative and society. So this is reviews removed that criticize the game's woke. Wow, that looks insufferable. Video game platform ensures that it gets great reviews by simply removing the bad ones. I mean, friggin' genius. Where people are mentioning woke writing, which is an umbrella term, which means here vagina power, blonde man bad, POCs are like the Mary Sue super duper smart type of was that chick Shuri in Wakanda, where it was like they just were over the top with that character. That was really, that again, insufferable. And the blonde men are just, of course, helpless idiots, which is weird because they built most of civilization. Games written by the standard cultural Bolshevik pronoun crowd, wherever they have the pronouns in the they them. What does that mean? What, exactly? My gender, right? It's like none of that's real, right? This is a fad. This is like the was it that Scandinavian country had the flower bloom thing. But the constraints on the narrative are actually pretty interesting because it's trying to normalize the idea that some things are open to critique, the technical aspects of a game, the mechanics, the graphics, but of course not the storyline or the writing, because in their world there are valid opinions and invalid ones that are simply not allowed to exist because they're coming from bad people who engage in wrongthink. Who, opinions vary, right? We don't side with Nazis. We kill them. It's like you call half the country that. You call them that just so you can murder them, which you have. So this framing they're doing, and then they have to like work double time to try to adjust the Charlie Kirk thing, to try to justify it. And you look at their examples, you're like, yeah, it's just nothing here. It's just a nice, normal, reasonable guy who had conversations. Because they can't just look at their own side and go, yeah, this was a massive L for our side. Like, they won't just admit that. They double down. You realize, oh, there's a lot of sociopaths on the left. Yes, and there's a truism to physiognomy is real with the left for sure. So the framing they're doing, this is outside of games as well, because they want people to self-censor out of fear, and it's critical that you refuse to do so. Point out all this kind of anti-white racist hatred and dehumanization every time. Openly stick up for the marginalized and oppressed European people who are being disenfranchised by this kind of racist hatred, and use their language against them. It's fun, and it drives them absolutely insane. What a lot of middle of the bell curve the political bell curve people really need to learn is how racist the non-white left really are, and how they're dehumanizing innocent people as a group simply because of their origins. The anti-white left is the bad guys, but people have been brainwashed to focus all hatred on the people of the light, us, the beautiful light-haired and light-eyed people. The thing is, it's okay to hate the people that hate you. My point being is that they're using social conditioning to engineer this weird globalist society that is definitely not stable, and make the concepts of nationalism haram, or criticizing Islam, Except that most people are nationalists, and the key point being where their people are concerned, where their ethnicity, their tribe is concerned, then they're very much La Raza. And of course, they're hypocritical about it. Nationalism, tribalism for them, but not for you. And obviously, that is starting to change. You got black, Spanish, Jewish, Asian, whatever, all have their own private groups for their people. And this stuff is so bizarrely open, and not enough people are in positions to be politically incorrect to point it out. Because you pretty much have to be in a position where you're like self-employed with your own clients to make cancellation of you so difficult or impossible it's just not worth pursuing for the left wing. So what ends up happening is most people just keep their heads down, and this dehumanization gets worse because if you start to speak out against this, they try to cancel you, and then you start getting pigeonholed into this thing where you might as well just double down, and effectively you become an activist. So when Black Panther came out, people were afraid to give it mid review, which it was in terms of Marvel movies, in terms of movies in general. There's nothing special about it. It was just a lot of CGI explosions and things. Because if they did, they would get fired from their reviews and unemployable for at least 5 years, maybe even longer. When the movie came out, like 2018 or something, and BLM 2020. So it would have been probably more than 5 years before you would have got another job in that field. You would have been blacklisted, and like it would have been open. You would have got on Twitter and go like, yeah, I got fired after that, and nobody hired me because I gave Black Panther a bad review, and people. You would have got thousands of black people on black Twitter and the anti-white Twitter just calling you istophobic for not giving it a review as good as, I don't know, Casablanca or Citizen Kane or whatever the good movies are. So people just either like they just won't review those kind of things, or they'll bite their tongue and give it a good review. So they frame the narrative that if you mention the umbrella woke term, which it's a big term, it can mean feminist cliches and anti-white male with a Mary Sue, Daisy Ridley type of female. What was her Star Wars name? They've made that in their minds not valid criticism. The problem being that we are now existing in these two different worlds because we don't value diversity or vagina power. That's silly. You can't have having the 5'4" Scarlett Johansson, beat up 200-pound people. Really stretches the narrative, or in believability, or in Birds of Prey with it was like a bunch of women running around beating up these shaved head, ethnically ambiguous, again, like 180-pound guys who were very fit at a theme park. It's like that was too silly for words. So we're pro-white empowerment, Tribe Europa. We're pro-patriarchy. Those are all good things. To be very tribal for your people and support structure and order. And yeah, for most of human history, that was called a patriarchy, and that's perfectly fine. Tribalism is a good thing. It's kept people stable, and we're not globalists because globalism is genocide. Diversity is weakness. As whatever that appointee said, unity is strength. And the whitest of white pills is that now we start to have some alt media, like I think John Trent wrote this article. The guy puts out a bunch of articles where we can finally start being honest, and we got Rumble and Odyssey and all these other kind of platforms where we're able to push back. And you can say this kind of stuff on YouTube, but there's not a whole lot of channels that talk about this kind of stuff. Because there's a fine line of being so big that it's hard for the left to like a nerdrotic Yellow Flash type of thing. But then there's a middle ground where you get big enough to attract SJW notice, and then they can take you down. So I think people are kind of, if they're in it for the, as an income, they're kind of nervous about that kind of thing. So it's good to just do things as a hobby where you can be politically incorrect and say, yeah, diversity sucks. I'm not hiding the. Oh, so what you're saying is, yeah, I just said it. I don't want diversity in movies. I'm not the only one, because even the left wing doesn't go see these movies or play these video games. What was that? The Concord game and the various other games that have abysmal failures because it was obese, POCs, gay, trans, and like every other character. Nobody wants those games. If the left wing wanted those games, or movies or comics or books, whatever, they would go out and support that crap. Even the left doesn't support that stuff, and yet they still make it. Anyway, yeah, it's fantastic to be able to control reviews so you only get good reviews. I mean, I guess anyone could do that if you control the platform. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.